So here we are in the first lesson for Module 3. In this lesson, we're going to talk all about your customer, and I've got a few resources for you. In business, you'll always have a customer, and obviously that customer plays a very important role in your business, partly because they are going to provide you with a crucially important thing we like to call an income. And more importantly, they're also crucial to your business because they're human and they matter. So because the customer plays such an important role for your business, I want us to take some time to get to know them and make sure that I'm helping you understand the relationship between your business and your customer. There are a few very important perspectives that you need to find and maintain about your customer, and I'm going to help you dive into those. The first perspective is that you have to believe that your customer is good. Even if your customer has recently escaped from prison, you have to believe that they're good. If you don't believe that your customer has a chance, you're never really going to be able to help them. And if you can't help them, you're not ever going to be able to deliver the value that they need to receive in order for you to get your business off the ground. If you're ever starting to feel jaded towards your customers, here's a little trick I learned from a book called Save the Cat. Make the bad guy badder. In other words, think about this in a story framework. What is your customer up against? What adversary are you helping him or her overcome? Now, in your mind's eye, if you can imagine your customer's adversary or villain about to eat your customer alive, look back over at your customer quaking in her boots. Because she's good and you want to help her, right? And you want to help save her from the bad guy. This is an important perspective to maintain about your customer. Secondly, your customer has to be likable. So what does this mean? Well, very simply, it means that you have to like your customer. She has to be good and you have to want the best for her. And here's a little tip on that. It's basic human instinct that in order for us to like someone, they have to be motivated and proactive. In other words, it's not your job to motivate your customer. Even if you're a physical trainer and you're trying to help someone train for a marathon, you can't give her the reasons to get out of bed. She may give you excuses about why she doesn't want to, but the reasons for her to get out of bed still have to come from her. This is another tip from that book, Save the Cat. In order for us to like the hero of the story, they have to be motivated and proactive. So if you feel like your customers are lazy, they may not be ready to work with you just yet. And just remember that you never have to convince your customer to not be lazy. That's not your job. Now, the third thing that it's important to understand about your customers is that they have to be flawed. Typically, we don't like perfect people. And the truth is, you'll never be able to sell anything to anyone who simply has it already figured out or simply has everything already all put together. So a little bit of flawed imperfection in your customer is a good characteristic. Fourthly, your customer has wants. She has hopes and dreams and desires and wishes. And these things in her mind are not vague. In order for you to help your customer, she has to be really clear on what she wants. And at a point we'll get to later, you need to be really clear on what you're offering to her. But at any rate, the goal between what you're offering and what she wants cannot be vague. It has to be very, very, very concrete. So ask yourself, what is the number one thing your customer wants? The fifth perspective I want you to understand about your customer is that in addition to wants, she also has some needs. And these are actually primal needs. And it's your job as a guide in her life to understand what those needs are. The primal need is usually an internal problem, and she's probably not going to come right out and tell you what that is. It might be that she feels insecure about something, or it might be that she's simply just trying to put food on the table. At any rate, if you can start to understand what her primal need or internal problem is, you'll better be able to connect with her. She also has an external manifestation of that problem. For example, if your customer isn't getting out of bed to train for that marathon every morning, it may be because she's suffering from depression, which stems from a primal place. So if you're looking to discover what the primal need in your customer's life is, look for external manifestations of issues, and you'll start to understand your customer better. Also in the realm of problems, there's one other issue that your customer might be experiencing that would be important for you to know as a business owner who's trying to provide value to her by solving her problems. And that issue is that she might have a philosophical problem as well. And this is where your values can come into play and be a huge asset to you and your brand. Most of the time, if your customer has a philosophical problem, she probably has an issue with the way she sees the world, or she sees an injustice and she thinks the world shouldn't be like that. If you can connect with your customer on this type of philosophical problem, you're going to create a very strong bond with your customer, which is going to create a lot of trust and a lot of value for them. And the eighth and final perspective I want you to understand about your customer is that your customer has to be ready for change. She has to be willing to embark on a journey with you, and she has to be willing to see things differently. If she is ready to change, she is ready to buy and ready to go on the journey that your business can take her on. But if she thinks she's perfectly fine just the way she is, there's no point in trying to convince her. If you try to convince somebody at that point in time, you just kind of come off as that sleazy salesperson, and none of us want that. So there are 8 characteristics and perspectives that can help you understand and get to know your customer better. The better you understand your customer, the more trust you're going to be able to create, the more value you're going to be able to provide, the more connection and meaning you're going to be able to add to her life. And that's going to create revenue for you. So that's going to be a really good thing. If you're interested in learning more about this subject, I have 2 resources for you. The first is a book called Save the Cat by a guy named Blake Snyder. It's a book about movie screenwriting, but it's great to read from a business perspective. And the second resource I'd recommend, if you have time, is hop over to Nashville and attend Donald Miller's StoryBrand Workshop. It's an amazing intensive on understanding your customer better, and I highly recommend it. Now we're going to jump to the next lessons. I'm so excited, we've got so much ground to cover. Download the worksheet for this module, leave a comment in the forums, and we've got a lot of ground to cover, so I'll see you over in the next lesson.